Hi, fifth graders. Today we are going to be writing a an essay about the things that Bud carries in his suitcase. So I'm going to get one started for you here and show you some of the things that I've written and how I decided to format it. And then I'm going to ask you to do the same thing. Okay, so the first thing I did, you can see here, is a quick brainstorm about the things that I want to write about. Uh, writing down your ideas and thinking about what you're going to say before you start writing is a really good way to organize your thoughts and make sure that you don't ramble. Or because writing isn't just spewing out ideas left and right in any old order that they pop into your head. Writing has to come out of you in an organized and logical way. So, this brainstorm or this list that I have here is not quite organized, but it is all the things that I'm going to write about. So I know when I write about the things that are in Bud's suitcase, I'm going to write about the rocks. I remember that there were 5 of them. They had some codes on them. He stored them in a tobacco pouch with a drawstring on it. A tobacco pouch is just a bag that tobacco came in. I do remember that he had that picture of his mama sitting on the saggy horse. If you remember, she was at that Miss Begotten Park wearing that awful hat that's in an envelope. I know that this was the most important thing to him because he at some point said it was the only picture of his mama in the whole world. Another thing that was in his suitcase were those 5 flyers. 3 of them had pictures of Hermione Calloway. 2 just had drawings on them. The blue one had a picture of Hermione Calloway, and it was the one that said Flint on it. It was the only one that said Flint on it, and that was the one that made his mother the most anxious, and that's the one that she brought home shortly before she passed away. The one thing that he does carry in his suitcase that seems to be a necessity is his blanket. All these other things, well, he could survive without them. They're really important to him, but the blanket is the one thing he needs to keep warm. Lastly, I think it's important that I talk about how he tied that suitcase with the twine and how he made sure that the knots in it were placed and created so that he knew if anybody was getting into his suitcase. I think that's an important detail, and I think it's actually symbolic of how precious all of these things were to him. And I think these things were all so precious and important to him because they reminded him of his mama and they were his only connection to his family. So, why don't you pause this video and think about what order you think these things should be in. If you were going to write about all of these things, what order do you think they should be in? Okay, I am working on my writing piece. I am not finished and I have a lot of revising to do, but I wanted to share with you that I know that with good writing, if I'm writing a multi-paragraph response, I should have an introductory paragraph. So I wrote that Bud carried a suitcase with him that contained all of his worldly belongings. These things were not all needed for survival, but they were all very important to him. So I kind of wrote an introduction. I think my reader should understand that I'm going to be writing about all the things that are in his suitcase. This next paragraph, the topic is about the rocks, and about how they were important to him and how they had belonged to his mama. They had strange codes on them. Then I added a transition. He also carried, there's my transition, that word also. And so then I talked about the 5 flyers that he thought had something to do with who his father was. I gave a little more information about these flyers. His mother never told him about his father. So Bud thought the man on the flyers, Hermione Calloway, must be his father. If I wanted to, I could add a little bit more detail about how 3 of them had pictures of Hermione Calloway on them. If I wanted to, I could add a little more detail about the blue flyer being the one that upset his mama so much. Okay, here's another transition when I said another item, and now I'm talking about the blanket. So this paragraph is about the rocks, and this paragraph is about the flyers, and this paragraph I wrote is about the blanket, and I said that it was the most practical item, but it was a way to remember his mama because it still smelled like her. I remember when I read that, it really touched my heart. Okay, and now here's another transition. Most importantly, that's my transitional phrase. Now this paragraph the topic is going to be about the picture. Okay, writing on that saggy pony and why it was so precious and how it was the only picture of his mother in the whole world. So I have an introductory paragraph. I have transitions. I remember learning about transitions when I was doing, when we were doing other kinds of writing, when we were doing informational writing and persuasive writing, we use transitions. Okay. My introductory paragraph, I've got topics divided into paragraphs. I have transitional phrases. What do I need at the end? Can I just stop? No, I can't just stop. This is where I need my concluding paragraph. And this is where I have decided I'm going to tie all of this together and talk about, once again, how all these things were so important to Bud, and they were so important that he tied them up with twine, with knots that he would recognize if somebody else got into them, because these were his memories of his mother. Okay. What I'd like you to do is take what I would like you to do is open the Google Doc of this very piece of writing that I've created here, and I would like you to do 2 things. I would like you to change any of the words in this that you'd like. Perhaps you'd like to change some of these transitions. They feel a little awkward, they feel a little formal, they don't seem to flow very well. You might have some different ideas about transitions that you could use. You might have some more details that you'd like to add to my writing. Maybe you have some more details that you'd like to say about those flyers. You may have some more details about the blanket or maybe about the picture. Okay. Add or change anything to what I already have, and I would like you down at the bottom to write that conclusion. Now, I've already decided that my conclusion is going to be talking about, it's going to add that stuff about the twine and how important those knots were to Bud, and my conclusion all has to talk about how important all of these items were to him. So do me a favor, Whatever changes you make to my writing, do them in a different color. So for example, if you put your cursor right here and you decide to write, I'd like you to change the text color. Make it red or purple or dark green or something, okay? You can leave all that highlighting just like it is. I don't mind with that, about that. Anything that you add or change, I'd like you to put it in a different color. But please do not mess around with the font because that will make it very difficult to read. Just leave it in this plain old simple font. Okay, get busy and good luck. I can't wait to see how you fix and finish my writing.